Hello and thanks for joining me as Sport Pilot James Glover on another exciting episode of Sport Vibe on GNT Work will bring you exciting and latest sport happenings across the world of sport, as is our tradition to do this every Tuesday. This week won't be an exception, so I'd implore you to please stay tuned because we'll be right back shortly after this break.
JK Royal C.
Thanks for staying tuned on this week's episode of Sport Vibe on DNT Work. We start our journey from the Italian Serie A. As we know, Inter Milan are sitting at the top of the Italian Serie A after extending their lead in the Italian Serie A, defeating Sassuolo 5-0. It was a 5-star performance from the league leaders to make sure that they didn't give AC Milan, that sits second in the Italian Serie A, a chance of catching up on them in the Italian Serie A and for the title charge in that particular league. It was an interesting one. We saw Emmanuel Akoji, who had made his move to Inter Milan a while ago, scoring his first goal for Inter Milan in the 5-goal performance from the league leaders, and this time around, again behind Inter Milan, won't be able to catch up with them even if they win their next match when they'll be playing on the 13th of February in the world of football. An interesting one also in the Italian Serie A. We talk about the game between Girona and Napoli, the game that almost ended in a draw in favor of Girona, but we saw the former striker of Manchester United stepping on and taking a penalty, a decisive one that helped Napoli rescue the maximum point against Girona in the Italian Serie A. You know, Napoli are the defending champion in the Italian Serie A. They are out of the Champions League, and maybe they'll be focusing on the Italian Serie A to see if they'll be able to win that back-to-back. The Antonio Conte side are way behind Inter Milan in the league label as things stands right now, but you cannot write anything off in the world of football, as anything can happen to the very end of the competition. You would also know that last season it took just 1 point for Napoli to win the Italian Serie A ahead of Inter Milan. Will they be able to switch their focus and base it on the Italian Serie A this season, as Inter Milan also will be looking to fight back in the Champions League in the knockout phase of the particular competition? And quickly, let's travel down to the Bundesliga, where we talk about Bayern Munich, who have continued to show dominance. This was also a 5-goal performance from them over the weekend, as they sit 6 points clear at the top of the table. They are followed closely by Borussia Dortmund, who also squeezed a win over the weekend. We saw Harry Kane scoring a brace, and we saw Luis Diaz being able to score an hat-trick in their match over the weekend. As things stand right now, Michael Olise appears to be the player with the highest assists for the Bundesliga side. We talk about Bayern Munich. Harry Kane continue with his form that he is this season, sits at the highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Will he be able to continue with this form to the World Cup, where we'll be hoping that England this time around will be able to win the World Cup? Harry Kane, one of the deadliest strikers in the world of football, continues to do his thing in the world of football, of course, as we celebrate him at that age, playing at the top of his career. And also in the world of football, we talk about the Turkish league. We saw Victor Osimhen back to the squad with Galatasaray, and he was able to score his 15th goal of the season. You remember that Victor Osimhen has been away for a while playing in the African Cup of Nations, but he was able to score over the weekend from a difficult angle to score a 15th league goal for Galatasaray this season. An interesting player, and the player that is full of determination. You can't take out the African flair from Victor Osimhen, and he has proven that in every field or every stadium that he has played football this season. And quickly, let's go on a very short break, and when we're right back, we continue from where we stop. Back and continuing from where we start from the Spanish La Liga. Of course, Barcelona defeated Mallorca 3-0 to make sure that their narrow lead against Real Madrid remains intact. And also, you know that Real Madrid over the weekend were able to get a win against Valencia 2-0. Kylian Mbappe can't stop scoring goals for Real Madrid. As things stands right now, he has had 23 goals in the Spanish La Liga and on the verge of winning the Golden Boot in the Spanish La Liga. But Barcelona also were able to win their match 3-0 against Mallorca, and this makes sure that they are just a point ahead of Real Madrid. Real Madrid has everything to lose this season as they are out of the Copa del Rey. You would know that the Copa del Rey semi-finals also has been set between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, where we saw Atletico Madrid defeating Real Betis 5-1 in the quarterfinals of that particular one, and in the semi-finals that makes sure that Barcelona will be taking on Atletico Madrid, and this means that Real Madrid have the Champions League and the Spanish La Liga to fight for this season. And also talking about the Spanish La Liga, the second meeting between Real Betis and Atletico Madrid this time around, the Spanish La Liga ended in favor of Real Betis. You remember that over the weekend Real Betis were defeated in the Copa del Rey by Atletico Madrid. But come to the Spanish La Liga, we saw Anthony, the former winger of Manchester United, being able to score a goal, and a very decisive one to help Real Betis rescue the maximum points against Atletico Madrid. The Spanish La Liga, an interesting competition where Madrid are sitting second and Barcelona remains the league leaders based on the 1 point between them. And also talking about football, we talk about one of the interesting matches that we witnessed over the weekend. This time around in the Ligue 1, it was between the league leaders Paris Saint-Germain and Marseille. A 5-star performance from Paris Saint-Germain, and they have shown to us why they remain the favourites to win the Ligue 1 this season. They were able to defeat Marseille 5-0 to make sure that they extend their lead between themselves and Nice to 3 points in the Ligue 1 this season. That game appears to be one of the most important games of the season. You remember that Marseille did Paris Saint-Germain the favor when they defeated Nice and make sure that Paris Saint-Germain are back to the top of the table. And this time around, Paris Saint-Germain couldn't show favor and probably get a draw, but they were able to show a dominance performance against Marseille and get that maximum point to make sure that they are 3 points clear in the league this season. Where you talk about the Ligue 1, an interesting competition, of course, where we saw that the Luis Enrique's side were able to bounce back from their recent disappointment in the UEFA Champions League, and they are topping the league right now. And quickly, let's switch our attention to the most exciting league in the world of football. Arguably, the Premier League won't stop showing us interesting matches, and we definitely enjoyed that over the weekend, where we saw Liverpool being defeated by Manchester City at the Anfield Stadium. It was an interesting one at the latter end of that particular match, which was full of so many dramas. We saw Szoboszlai scoring a world-class free kick, and Manchester City looks as if they will be dropping points at Anfield Stadium, but they were able to bounce back to get the maximum points and put pressure on Arsenal Football Club at the top of the Premier League table. An interesting one for them as they were able to pull two back to rescue the game that ended 2-1 in their favor, where we also saw Szoboszlai being shown the red card. And as things stands right now in the Premier League table, Arsenal are 6 points ahead of Manchester City, who continues to put pressure on them, as though Arsenal Football Club were also able to get a win over the weekend against Sunderland in a match where we saw Victor Gyokeres scoring a brace. And that particular match also was an interesting one and a very important one for them to get a maximum point to continue to maintain their spot at the top of the Premier League table. And also in the Premier League, we witnessed the match between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur at the Theatre of Dream. It was a Theatre of Dream indeed, where Manchester United were able to defeat Tottenham for the very first time since the year 2022. You remember that they were able to defeat Manchester United in the Europa League finals, and in their recent game in the Premier League, it ended 2 goals apiece. But this time around, under Michael Carrick, they were able to defeat Tottenham Hotspur 2-0 to make sure that Michael Carrick has 4 out of 4. He has been able to win 4 matches out of the available 4 that he has taken charge of Manchester United. Their next match is going to be between them and West Ham United. Will he be able to extend that winning streak to 5 games in a row, as it's going to be a very decisive one, as presently Manchester United sits in the UEFA Champions League spot ahead of Chelsea and Liverpool in the Premier League. Will it be the 5 games in a row win for Manchester United in the Premier League, as we also know that Sunderland will be taking on Liverpool in the game tonight, and also Manchester City will be playing Fulham. We'll be seeing Arsenal Football Club also playing this night in the world of football. Different games will be played across the Premier League this night, and we will be seeing Manchester United continuing in their incredible form this season. And quickly, this is the length at which we'll be going on this week episode of Sport Vibe on DNT Work. For more news and sports stories, follow us across our various social media handles at Sport Vibe on DNT Work. Remain a law-abiding citizen, enjoy your week, and stay out of trouble. Thank you.